but the craving claws at me every time I'm lonely. Parents shouldn't bury their children, I keep going, but this road ends somewhere, I just hope that they know me. We all got some things that we're going through. Stop living in the day it all broke you. Some things that we're going through. Demons chase the brave and they chose you. You don't know my life for anything that I'm about. I was left for dead, counted out, so I'm out. Standing in the streets, tears running down my cheeks. I'm starving, need to eat, but I'm chasing down this dream. Used to sleep in the trap house, trying to take the rap route, stay up all night.
Okay, so today we have Jennifer Celaya, right? Is it Celaya?
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
You're saying it correct.
Yes. Founder of... Okay, cool. Founder of New Beginnings Family Services out of LA County, California?
Santa Clara County. It's in San Jose.
Santa Clara County.
Yeah.
Okay, San Jose, California. All right, so just tell us a little bit about what prompted you to do this kind of thing and how you got here.
All right. Well, my journey started in 1997 when I had my first child at the age of 15. And, just growing up in a broken system that I feel is meant to be broken. There's no such thing of a system being broken, and we got to fix it because it's meant to be that way to suppress us. So, right. And so, I lost my firstborn son to DFCS, which is better known as Child Protective Services, at the age of 15. I had made a phone call to the police department here in San Jose to let them know that, there was an altercation going on at my home and that I was being threatened. And for the safety of my son, I needed their assistance to help me remove this person that was actually in my home. It changed. The whole event just was devastating because it was not expected. You think that you're going to call, the police department and you're calling them for help. And instead they come and they remove your child. So that's what happened. They pulled up to my house. They basically said, who made the phone call? I said, I did. And they said, well, why are you crying? And I said, well, because I just got assaulted and I had my son in my arms and you guys took forever to get here. And so I'm trying to de-escalate the situation by calling you guys. So when the officers came to my door, they basically said, you know what, you're crying, you're emotional and stable. So we're going to take your son to the shelter so he can get evaluated. If there was an altercation, you guys were fighting in front of him, it's considered child abuse, right? And so at that moment, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, they're just going to do a routine check or something like that. And this is something I've never heard of. And so I thought, okay, well, they're cops. I can trust them with my child. And so they actually took my son from my care on June 3rd, 1998, and said, we'll bring him back after we evaluate and take him to the shelter and have a doctor, see him. I never got him back. He never came back home. They took him, put him in the police car. I watched him drive away. I was hysterical, of course, because I'm a teen mom, my first baby, and I didn't understand what was going on. And at that point, the frustration, the anger, it grew inside of me, and I didn't know which way I was going to go. I was indecisive of, do I allow this to break me and I just go spiral out of control and go down the wrong path? Or do I allow this to strengthen who I am as an individual and not allow it to consume me and, basically tell my story and help others? And that's what I decided to do. So I went through the process. In 98, the social services, the way that they were designed was a fast track adoption. They would take kids in, and if there was abusive allegations, they had 30 days to investigate. After investigation, if they felt that there was enough evidence that the child was unsafe or the parent was unfit, they offered the parents 3 to 6 months of reunification to get the child back home. Going through all these hoops, parenting classes, life skills. They want you to do all these drug testing, all of these things, right? And if you didn't meet those requirements in 6 months, your child, if they were under the age of 5, was considered a good candidate for fast track adoption. And in those times, fast track adoption was in 6 months. If you didn't reunify with your child, that meant your parental rights were terminated and your child was put up for adoption. So that's what took place with me. I knew what they were doing was wrong, but I didn't have the financial means to fight this battle in court. So I had to take what I can get, which was a court appointed attorney. I was not really educated on the legality of the case and the way welfare institution code works. I was really naive. I didn't have any background of this because I didn't think something like this would ever happen. And mind you, I'm only 15. So I
Right.
trusted the court. I trusted the department that they were doing, what was in the best interest of me and my child. And with the representation they gave me was pretty much like a rubber stamp. Like, oh, I'm doing what's best for you. Let's just go with what they're asking us. Let's just agree it's going to be better for you. And then I had social workers nonstop in my face. You're very young. You can have more kids. There's a couple that's actually waiting for your son. And I thought, no, I don't think so. That's not okay. I'm not signing up my rights. So because I refused to sign up my rights, they found any little thing they can to use against me, which was my mother's background. So my mom had a long history of CPS referrals on myself and my other siblings, and we were removed from her care before, and they utilized that to basically attack my character and, my skills to be able to mother my son and my ability to be able to protect my child. They used that against me. And so because I didn't understand my rights and how the whole system worked, I just kind of went with whatever came at me because I didn't know any better. And when my son was placed up for adoption, I got to go in and say my last goodbye to him. And he was 4 years old at that time. And I told him, I said, don't forget, I'm your mom and I will always be your mom. And I'm going to come for you. One day I am going to come look for you and I'm going to find you. And, we're going to try to fix whatever they did to us. But don't worry, I'm never going to give up. And from that moment on, it was definitely devastation. It's something that you don't know how to live with. And I had no other choice but to decide whether I was going to allow that to consume me and put me on a wrong path, or was it going to be something that wasn't in vain and there was a bigger purpose from it. And so I took that route. I felt like there was a bigger purpose to come from that pain and sacrifice from myself and my son. And I fought very hard from that moment on. And I decided that at the age of 15, I didn't want anybody else going through the same trauma and devastation that I went through losing your child. And that's when I started becoming an advocate at the age of 15, 16 years old in my community, in my county. Started doing rallies, protesting at the Child Protective Services, at the Juvenile Dependency Court. I contacted news stations. We had a front page article with the Metro newspaper, which is a local newspaper here in San Jose. I told my story and I wanted it to be told because I didn't want my son to ever think that this was something that was done on my behalf. And, I just basically gave up. So throughout the years, I built a really strong rapport with the community as far as advocating for them and their rights. And I educated myself. And I also put myself through school so that I can be well informed when I'm dealing with the community and how I can better assist them. So as of right now, I'm reunited with my son the last 7 years. When he turned 18, I found out where he was at. I waited until he was a legal age because I knew if I disturbed him before 18, I could be criminally penalized, and I didn't want that. So I found out where he was at. He wasn't very far from me. He was 3 hours away. I took myself and about like 8 other people. We drove out there and I saw him get off the car and I ran up to him and he already knew who I was automatically. And from that moment on, that healing from that trauma started to be, started at that moment. And that was in 2006 that I reunited with my son. And he's home. He's home with me now. Our relationship is great. I think, the Lord and everybody else that was in my corner to give me that strength when, I had to endure all of that trauma and devastation, because I thought that when I found my son, he was going to hate me and it was going to be a lot worse. But he was open to building our relationship all over again. And he's a big advocate along with me. And so when we go and talk and we share our story, I'm able to have my son on my side to kind of share the devastation he went through and the trauma that he suffered from that removal. So fast forward a little bit. After that, it was great. I was excited. I was still doing the work that I'm doing, educating folks and having workshops and, kind of guiding them through the whole court process so that they're well informed how to present their case and how to be successful. And in 2017, I ended up finding myself back into a custody battle with my youngest children. They're 10-year-old twins now. Their father dragged me into court because of child support. And that's something that's really common these days, is when child support's involved, it tends to cause a lot of high conflict issues in a case, right? And so when that happened, my parental rights they weren't terminated, but the custody switched completely from me being 100% custodian, guardian over the girls, and him having very little visitation because that was his choice, to full custody to him and putting me on supervised visitation, and having to drive 3 hours to see my daughters and pay $260 a week to see them, right? This went on for 9 months. Of course, again, that was my second blow. I was devastated. I said, okay, so I created this awesome system. I've been helping folks for like the last 23 years. How can this happen to me again? And I thought, I have really good relationship with judges and attorneys, minors counsel. They all know me. They know the work I do. Like, how could this happen? And I thought, okay, I sat back and I did a lot of evaluation. I did a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of people, and I'm going to say this in the respectful way, a lot of women, mothers like myself, didn't agree with what my response was to me taking a step back and evaluating what was going on with the whole situation. And I will tell you this, I take full accountability for my actions and the way that I decided to handle the case. And the way that my perception was before that happened, I thought I was always the better parent. I thought I was the one that always could make the better decisions for my children, right? I thought that I should be the primary caretaker, and I should be the one having full control over the girls. And once that court situation happened, it really, really did allow me to step back and evaluate my behavior, evaluate my actions and my reactions to certain things and how I handled the case. And I take full accountability and responsibility for how the case took place and how it progressed into me having supervised visitation with the girls and the custody switched. And so in that time that I had away from my daughters, 9 months, it took me to get through our court proceeding, but it resulted in the father getting really frustrated, intimidated, and just, he was not able to really endure the challenges that came with the custody case, right? So his next step was, I don't want mom having them because of what she did by dragging me into court for child support. So I don't want them anymore because this is too much for me and I can't take it anymore. I can't tolerate it. I'm going to go to Sonoma County Child Protective Services, and I'm going to relinquish my rights to them. And I'm going to request that they be put up for adoption. And that blew my heart away. I thought, are you kidding me? Like, wow. I begged and I pleaded with family court here in Santa Clara County. And I said, hey, he no longer wants them. He's telling you he cannot do it any longer. why aren't the girls being put back into my care? Well, we're going to do that, but let's come back to court in a week so we're better prepared. And I thought, are you kidding me? He couldn't wait a week. He didn't want to wait. So what he did was, instead of waiting for our court date, which was June 3rd of 2018, he went and just relinquished custody to them, to Child Protective Services. Basically said, I have full custody and I don't want the mom to have them. So again, here I am again fighting Child Protective Services all over again, a different county, not my county. And, I ended up going bankrupt, having to get, at that point, I had to get an attorney to represent me because it was just there was too many emotions, too much, a lot of turmoil going on that I couldn't efficiently represent myself without getting my feelings and emotions involved. So I had to hire an attorney, and I had to pay extra because she traveled to Sonoma County. And then we got the case transferred here. Once the case got here, a full investigation was done, and they said, this is absurd. This is insane. They should have never been removed. This should have never happened. And here's your kids.
Yeah.
Here's your kids back. After they went to foster care, they were separated to 2 different foster homes in 2 different counties. And these are twins. For the 5 years of that duration of their life, have never been separated. Were placed into 2 different foster cares, different counties. First, they got taken from their mom, and now their dad is dropping them off, surrendering them, saying, I'm sorry, I can't take care of you anymore. Goodbye. Can you imagine what 5-year-old girls are thinking in their mind? And so once I got them back home in 2018, I got them back a few days before Thanksgiving, 2018. And it took me a whole year to fight 3 different jurisdictions to finally say, hey, this is not working. And this is, if it wasn't working for me, this is not working for majority of the parents out there that are either going through family court or dependency.
Yeah.
Something has to change. So once the girls got back in my care, that's when I went full force with New Beginnings, the nonprofit. I wanted to make sure my case was closed out and I was going to be able to operate without them hoovering over me. And when they got back home, I did a little bit more research. I dug back into my first experience with dependency, and then the work that I've done over the 23 years. And I decided, what can we change that can be different to help these parents be successful in court, and also support them while they're going through these challenges, right? And so I did a lot of years of gathering surveys and intakes from parents to figure out what were the conflicts that they struggled with in their case, and was there an opportunity to try to fix those conflicts prior to any custody change or any drastic decisions, right? And it took me 2 years to conduct that and come up with a system that I know was going to be very successful, because I did a pilot for 2 years. I tried it out, and all of my parents that came through our workshops and our legal education workshops, 95% of them have had success rates in their cases. The impact of the trauma on the children was lowered significantly. We had parents that were able to not have to go bankrupt in having to pay for, the court process. We were able to do private mediation and also do high conflict resolution, because that is the main issue when you're going to court. Doesn't matter if it's for child support, a divorce, custody, any disagreements you have, they're considered high conflicts if you guys both don't agree. And when you go to court and you display these high conflicts, what you're telling the court is that you both don't have the ability to be able to resolve those conflicts. So they take it upon themselves to decide what is best for your case. In majority of the time, whatever they decide is not what you or the mother are actually wanting to happen. So the program that I put together is to lower the risk of trauma in court intervention for the child and also for the parents. I get a lot of shit because of the workshops I do that primarily focus on men and men only. And And that has been something that I've been doing for the last 3 years. And I feel that it's been needed because a lot of the conflicts arise from a mother that loses the power and control they have through their children. And it results in either the father losing custody or some type of visitation, because the mother is scared to relinquish a little bit of that control and care to the father, to the other parent. And so, in order for me to
Right.
have successful cases for these parents, I had to be able to share and educate those fathers on the same stuff I educate the mothers on, and allow the fathers a safe space to be able to open up and address issues that are deeper than just that custody or divorce. These are issues that go way back into their childhood trauma that they've experienced that they have never really addressed. And so it carries over into adulthood and it shows in all areas of their life. And the reason why I pour into the men is because, regardless of how we like to see it, a man is the head of his household. He is to lead his kids and his wife, whoever it is. And as a mom, I realize that, I know that I was raised by a single father who instilled those values into me. And so for me to just only focus on women and be like, hey, women empowerment, would do no justice to the families that I actually help. And it would do no justice to the children that are affected. So when I started branching out and trying to figure out how can I better help these parents get on the same page so that they can actually avoid all of the trauma that's going to happen when they hit family court or dependency. And my key thing, whether people believe it or not, was working with the fathers. And all I can say is me pouring into those men and working with them over a duration of time has actually made the drastic improvement in their case. The conflicts have actually resolved. So me being able to do that line of work,
That's why you're getting a lot of shit.
I'm getting tons of shit. I'm getting people saying, oh, I'm going to Yelp you, or I'm going to bring down your stuff. I can't believe it. And I said, you know what? That's fine. I don't need your support. You don't pay my bills. You don't operate my nonprofit. And I never needed you in the last 23 years. So if you do not want to support me because I support the fathers, then that's your choice. You could, don't let the door hit you on the way out, because I won't lose any sleep. I believe that a man in a child's life, the role that they play, it gives a child more opportunity to thrive and grow throughout their life, because they offer something different than the mother offers. We offer the nurturing side and more of that compassion. Fathers are more of the protectors and the guiders to lead their kids on a different path, right? So as a mom, I can't give that to my kids. And I hate when women will portray that like, oh, I'm mom and dad. No, you're not. You're only the mother. You can never be the father. Even though you might be a single parent and you're playing,
Nope.
you're doing it on your own, you're still not the father. And you cannot give that child what the father can. So you can never supplement that. That's what I try to stress to the mothers I work with, is that you might want to control and dictate, but all you're doing is hurting your kids. And what they didn't realize, and working with the workshops, is when they start to get on the defense mode and start making allegations or fighting the father, it's because they're losing that control, the authority over the child, right? And they no longer have any more control. So that's what the issue is if I give him control, if I give him 50-50 custody, then that means I can't manipulate and control him anymore through the kids, right? So that is one thing that I try to help the parents understand, is that once they start to hang on to that control, it's only causing trauma for the child, because of course a child wants to have that other parent involved and wants to have, that time with that parent. They need that.
It's a kind of a natural yearning.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why I do the work I do,
I agree,
fathers.
100%.
Don't get me wrong. Don't think that I don't work with the moms, because I do. In order for there to be
Right.
a neutral balance, I have to work with both parents so I get them on the same page. And I I don't just do it for the parents. I also work with the different professionals, whether it be a judge, an attorney, a minors counsel, a social worker, whoever it is. I have to include them with the conflicts that are going on so that we're all on the same page. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it, but
Right.
it's effective and it works. So, I'm proud of my men's workshops, and I love seeing the growth that the men actually go through. And that's something I'm never going to stop doing. Even though I get a lot of shit for it, I'm still going to continue to do that work. So that's where I'm at right now.
Like I say, you're getting shit for it because you're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're doing something that nobody wants you to do,
Yes.
because it's been a long time that everybody has been trying to remove the man from the nuclear family.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why it removes the strength, the protectiveness. There's a reason it takes two to tango.
Right.
Not so that one of us can raise it alone. I don't want to raise my kid alone
Right.
either. I want his mom to be there. I want their mom to be there so that they can have that, learn the nurture and learn the tenderness at the same time. Yeah, just doesn't work
No,
one
it,
at a
it
time.
doesn't. And that's,
You can do your best.
it doesn't. You cannot offer your child something that can only come from a father. It's just, it's not ideal.
Right.
You just, you might think so because as a woman, I'm going to speak for myself, is that once you go into survival skills or mode where you feel like, okay, shit, I have to do this on my own, you create that independence off of fear. And then you create this whole persona of like, I'm an independent woman. I could do this all by myself. I don't need nobody. I don't need a man. I don't need a father. And that is only based off of the fear. And in order for me to be able to survive getting through that is telling myself that I don't need that person, or my kids don't need that man, right? Which is a lie. It's not true. Um,
Right.
and who am I to make that decision for my child when I'm not, that's their father. That is their choice to have that person in their life or not. And I should not have that ability to make that decision. And I don't think a court should have that ability to take the rights of that parent either. And so, like I said, that's why I do the work I do, and I advocate for the fathers, because majority of the time when men go into court, it's almost like second nature to them to get intimidated and not even want to deal with the process because they don't know how to. It's under pressure, and then it creates all of this frustration, and it's like, the hell with this. I'd rather just go away than to deal with this, right? And in reality, when they do that, they're just
Right.
creating more trauma for their child. They're creating
Right.
this insecurity for their child to think like, what did I do for my father to not want me, right? And most of the time, women don't tell the truth about why their parent is not around. And that is something that I work
Oh, I know.
deeply on with the women, to learn how to be able to let go the parenting time, because they've been able to utilize the children as a weapon to control that other parent. And if they lose that control, they can no longer use the child as a weapon, right? So I also stress that to the court, that the court should not be using the child as a weapon to punish the parent either. So a lot of the time I see parents go in, and there could be, in family court, it's really just like a gray area, because an allegation could be made of domestic violence and there would be no criminal prosecution or charges at all. And they will sustain that allegation and say, well, mom says, you did this. So now I want you to do 52 weeks of domestic violence. And now you can't see your kid because you're violent. No, it doesn't work that way. Because if
Yeah.
that was the case, then it would be the same way in criminal proceedings, where you have the opportunity to have a jury trial, and you have an opportunity to actually state your case, to represent yourself and show evidence to prove otherwise, right? And with family court, that is something that I've been working on long term to figure out how we can get around the whole domestic violence, because I have found that's the loophole that women will utilize to keep the kids from a father. Is we can get a
Yeah.
restraining order, and that's going to trample over any family law proceeding. Is if the court
Yeah.
sees that there is a danger or a risk to the child or to the parent, that gives that parent full control and access over the custody and visitation, right? So I know that over the years that mechanism has been abused drastically. And like I said, I've created a lot of enemies because I speak up on these issues when it comes to it pointing towards men being the victims of this actual I call it a Ponzi scheme, because a lot of attorneys, they know that this is going to stick. So when you get
It is.
clients, they're like, hey, I can get you your custody right away. We're going to have to say there's a some type of domestic violence, right? That's how they make their money. That's how they operate. And it's really sad because they don't understand that once this happens, it takes a long time to kind of undo that damage for that father. Um, and so that's where I step in. I created
Yeah.
that system that helps protect those fathers against those type of proceedings. And in doing that, like I said, I created a lot of enemies. At this point, I don't care because I only do what's right and what's fair. Period. My main goal is sustaining.
That's why everybody's mad at you.
Right. Yes. My whole goal is sustaining the family component where the child at least has equal access to the father and the mother. I'm pro parent. I'm for both parents, but I also understand that as a woman, we tend to feel like because we carry the kids and we're the mother, we always have the upper right, or we always have the better knowledge on parenting and what should happen, or full control, which is not what it should be at all. It took two to make that kid. And at one point, you love the other parent. And because you no longer agree with them or with them, does that mean you get to use the child as a weapon to weaponize everything? No. So that's why I work really hard on the workshops and encouraging the men to have a voice to advocate for themselves. And I do a lot of education on how they can represent their case and how to stay away from the danger zones of having those allegations brought forth or anything like that that would kind of cause any conflict or risk to their case. And so when I have them go through the workshops, we work closely with them. We follow them and track them to make sure, like, hey, we need to make sure you're doing these things before it's presented to you in court. Because what's going to happen is they're going to throw all these things at you and say, jump through all these hoops in order for us to say you are a fit parent. So the program I've designed is to have the father start working on all of that stuff before that even is an issue. So when they go to court, they present their case. Here you go, Your Honor. Here's everything. There should be no issue to keep me from my kid because this is everything that you were going to ask me anyways. I did it. And it's been successful.
Right.
It's been very successful. And when we go to court, I cannot legally represent anybody in court because I'm not a licensed attorney. I'm a licensed LDA. And so what I do is I actually go to court with the clients to just listen and then offer any support to them in court. We do case managing here as well. So one of our case managers will go with the parent to let them know that we are involved in the case, that we manage everything that they're doing as far as classes, workshops, any interaction with the other parent. And we continue to offer that to the other parent. So we give a full disclosure of what's going on with the case and how we're involved. Once they hear that we're involved and that we have done the work we have done with the parent, it actually removes all those roadblocks and barriers that were going to be there to begin with. That's gone away.
Awesome.
So I found it to be effective. And like I said, I'm not doing it because I want to say that the father's better than the mother or the mother's better than the father. It's not. I just want the men to have an opportunity to be a part of their child's life because they are a very significant role for these children. You see a lot of kids out in the street that are fatherless, that end up in prison, end up on drugs. You see a lot of women, out there prostituting themselves or looking for that father. that they didn't get an opportunity to have. And
Right.
if we could step back and really look at the bigger picture, which is the conflicts that arise in court, and educate the fathers how to navigate around it and educate the mothers the same thing, it just creates less drama and trauma for the child and the whole situation in general, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I keep up on all this stuff. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Yeah. I appreciate
Uh,
that.
I'm a big advocate for fathers' rights. Had mine taken from me. Well, not my rights taken from me, just really my kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the resources to fight back. I was an ex-con. As far as the courts were concerned, I was abusive, so there wasn't no point. But I got my son now. The horrible person that I was, that everybody kept my kids from me, I have my son now.
Yeah. And that's one thing about being
Um,
when you said ex-con, those are a lot of topics that we talk about in the workshops, because what they don't realize is that being an ex-con really doesn't keep you from your legal rights to your child. And a lot of the times when those things are being presented in court to use it as a tactic to basically attack the other parent's character or ability to keep their child safe or to parent, it's the fathers don't really know how to defend themselves in that sense if you don't know the legalities about it. But I will tell you this is, if you served your time and you're released, okay, yes, you might be a felon, ex-felon, but that does not mean the crime that you committed can be used against you as a way to say, look at this person, they aren't safe or they shouldn't be around their kid. But you serve your time. That is why you were released and let go. Otherwise, you would still be there. So that is not,
that's what I say.
yes, it's not a factor that should be used to use as a weapon to punish that other parent, because you've already been punished. You've already served your time. You've already done whatever it is they ask you to do. And now you're out, and it's your opportunity to be reacquainted back into society. And so a lot of the times when I do workshops, I do hold them for like judges and attorneys and stuff like that, because I like to educate them on that piece. A lot of the times, judges don't have very much time when you go to court, because, they see like 20 other cases right after or before you, right? So you get this little like 3
Right.
to 5 minute window to try to dump all this information on this judge. And because they rule on the side of caution and they really don't have any education or training on childhood trauma and how induced um, trauma could impact the child or even the parent, they don't know anything other than, let's just rule on the side of caution because I hear some type of allegation or some type of concern, right? And they run with
Right.
that. So the work that I've also been doing is trying to educate the judges a lot more and offering these free workshops to them so they can get a different perspective on some of these things that are being present. Because a lot of the time you get these cases that come in and they just go, 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 go. They'll last for a year or two and they keep going, 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 right? And sometimes it's tragic because they end up in CPS, which is Child Protective Services, and now that kid's being removed from both parents, and now they're in foster home, like my situation, right? And
Right.
then you're having to deal with that, and it's an overflow. And so I've been working with the Department of Child Protective Services as well to figure out what type of initiative we can come up with where dependency and family court are on the same page when it comes to allegations. Because legally by law, when there's an allegation of any type of abuse is brought forth at court, it doesn't matter if it's in family court. That needs to be reported to the proper agency, which is Child Protective Services. It is a requirement. It is in the law. I don't know what county or state you're in, but I can only assume it would be for yours as well, because in California, it is in the law, even the Welfare Institutional Code, that says if there's any allegations of abuse in any court proceeding, that they are mandated. They have to report that so it could be properly investigated. So when you go to court and
Right.
let's say your child's mom is saying, well, he's abusive, he's his ex-con. Okay, well, let's send a report to Child Protective Services. Let them do their full investigation before we decide to make a traumatic change and keep this kid from his father. No, let us send it to the proper agency and let them investigate, because they take a lot longer, right? To conduct an investigation. And that's when they decide, well, you know what, yeah, okay, maybe the parent might have had been in prison or might have did this, but now he's been rehabilitated and he doesn't live this lifestyle anymore, so I deem him safe to be fit around the child. And I'm speaking from experience because I've seen it happen over and over. And that is one thing that we've been working on, and we are in the beginning stages of that initiative, where when allegations are being brought to the court, and instead of removing the parent, the rights to the child, like visitation or putting them on supervised or all of these things, they're going to report that to the proper agency and allow them to do a thorough full investigation versus making a drastic change right there in that little 3 to 5 minute court hearing. That is not enough time to investigate any type of allegation. And when you go to emergency
No.
screening, you sit with the court mediator. Half the time, those dump trucks don't even have enough education other than, yeah, they went to school, the psychology or therapy, whatever it is, but they don't have the other type of education when it comes to childhood trauma and also criminal law and how that works with any type of backgrounds like that. They don't have enough of that. Conflict resolution, they're given 10 hours of conflict resolution training. So you have a marriage and family therapist that is in charge of making a recommendation on a legal case. That doesn't work. They don't even know.
Right.
They don't even know the law the way an attorney or a judge does in order to start making those recommendations. They're not even aware that they're violating constitutional rights of a parent, and they're making those drastic
Right.
changes. So that has been something I've been working on for X amount of years, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface of collaborating the way that dependency works with reporting allegations, so that we can start lowering the rate of custody change and supervised visitation and taking this one parent's rights away. Instead, let's do a thorough investigation, and if there is something really there, they'll know. If there's not, and they see that this is just one parent making these allegations to try to control or manipulate the situation, then that's when, as an agency, they got to step in and say, what services can we offer that parent to help them understand and also take accountability for their actions and how it's impacting at least the other parent and the child. So all of that we've put together, like I said, we're just testing it out, and I'm seeing a major improvement when it comes to these custody cases in family court, when it comes to domestic violence and restraining orders and how they do the whole supervised visitation. And it's been working really well. I'm very proud of the work that the Board of Supervisors and Dependency Child Protective Services Board of Directors, how they've been on board with me. They've listened, and they're actually putting it to work. And I see major improvements. I'm seeing more men have the ability to advocate for themselves and feel comfortable to talk about those things versus feeling so intimidated and not knowing what the hell to do. And then they go months and months without visitation because they can't either afford supervise or they can't afford an attorney. And that time that's elapsed, what they don't realize is that you're spending more time away from your kids. So you're taking that bond away, and they're able to say, well, the kids haven't even seen you in like 6 months. So now we have to get them reacquainted with you because they don't know you.
Yeah.
Bullshit, because the kid's not going to forget their parent. I don't give a shit if you haven't seen them for 6 months, a year. They don't forget their parent. It's that simple.
No.
So there's a lot of different components to what New Beginnings and the work that I do, because it's not just workshops educating the fathers. There's a lot of stuff of court reform that I've been working on with local officials and state officials, that I would actually like to see nationwide. I don't want it to just be state of California, because this is a nationwide crisis. It's not only happening
Oh
here.
yeah. This is a worldwide crisis.
Absolutely.
I'm talking to people in Australia and Canada and the UK that are going through the same shit we are.
Child Protective Services investigations are among the most frightening experiences a parent can endure. With CPS Protect's consulting services, you can now face them with confidence. Our consultations can prepare you for a CPS investigation before they arrive at your door. Or, if you're already under investigation, we can help you navigate it successfully. Our consultants are all experienced former CPS investigators. The services we offer are unique. There is no one else doing what we do to help you preserve your rights and protect your family. Contact us today. Visit our website at cpsprotect.com or give us a call at 844-633-KIDS. That's 844-633-5437. CPS Protects Consulting Services, saving children, preserving families.
People reach out to me all the time. They're like, "Do you do cases over here?" I'm like, I mean, I could if I have the resources, right? But it's really hard because I'm only one person. And so what I'm trying to
Right.
do is I'm trying to train other people in other areas so they know how to do the work, or they know how to kind of follow in my footsteps. But I'm actually open to start doing more of workshops and more engagements in other counties, states, countries, whatever it needs to happen, so that we can start breaking down these barriers. Because one thing I stand by is people like to say, "Oh, it's a broken system, we need to fix it." Bullshit. The system's broken because that is the way they want it to be. There's no other way. If they don't have us and our kids going through their court system, they have no money. So it boils down to
Right.
funding and money. So they need bodies in there. They need people in there with conflicts
Yes.
and all of this drama. They need that. If you guys aren't doing it, if we're not doing it, they have no job and they have no money. So that is
Right.
why it's important. I tell parents all the time. That is why I show you how to represent yourself and present your case, so you stay away from those dangers. So you do not go into the danger zone, because the court don't give a shit about you or me or your kids. They don't care about anything other than themselves and their paycheck, right? So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we need to stand up for us and ourselves, and our rights for our kids, and our voice. And that's what it's about. And a lot of people lose sight and lose focus when it's fathers against mothers, mothers against fathers, when in reality, eventually your kid's going to grow up and really look at what happened, and they're going to end up hating you later on. So you're going to waste all
Yeah.
this time and effort and money and resources just to have the end result be your child hates you or resents you for the shit you put him through, right? So
Right.
my approach
Right.
is more realistic and kind of raw. I just tell it how it is. I don't sugarcoat. And I definitely don't babysit any parents. If they want to come and they want to get the help and the support they need, it's there, but they have to do their part, because I can only do so much.
Right. Yeah. You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah,
Can't make him drink.
absolutely.
I hear that. One of the other people that I asked to join us today, she didn't respond to me, but her name's Taylor, and she is working on a father's rights group here in Florida,
Okay.
because she was actually one of those alienated kids who grew up and realized, why the hell did you do that to my dad? And now she hates her mom.
That's what I just said, right? They grow up
And this
and they
is
realize.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So all this stuff makes sense to me, and this is really one of the main reasons that we're doing what we're
Yeah.
doing, is to kind of bring everybody with our same mindset together for the kids.
Right.
Because really, brass tacks, that's what matters, is the kids.
Yeah.
We were born with it taken two to tango. We should probably die the same way.
I agree. 100%.
Just facts.
It's true. I agree. And if you're
Yeah.
open to
I do a lot of.
doing a workshop out in your area, I don't mind coming out there and putting something together. If you want to put something together with your fellas or whoever, group of men you work with, I wouldn't mind. I'll take a trip out there if you're interested, setting something up.
We don't even have to work on a trip right yet. We could start up virtually
I'm
just to see
I'm
if
open to that.
we can attract those kind of people.
I'm open.
That's why I wanted Taylor here,
Yeah.
because she works with a lot of fathers. I am kind of antisocial.
Yeah.
Um, I'm working on my own issues right
Yeah.
now. Uh, I was stabbed to death not too long ago,
Oh man.
so
Well, you're okay.
people are not really big groups of people are not my thing.
Yeah. I understand.
But that's one of the reasons that we started this, is because I suffer from that alienation. My son went through it. Like I said, he's here now.
Yeah.
Nah, he wanted to be a part of this, but he didn't get his homework done beforehand.
Oh, okay. And that's one thing too, is we open up the floor. Like last week, we had a workshop with the men, and they brought their kids. And I encourage it because a lot of the times they want us to not talk about anything to our kids. They want us to keep them from everything. And I don't agree with that, because these children need to know what's going on and why it's happening. They have the right to know, so they process and they understand it. And if we keep hiding this situation or conflict or whatever you want to call it from these kids, they're just going to grow up confused and not understanding what the hell is going on. So in those workshops, we talk a lot about,
Absolutely.
How did it become to this point, and what can we do to help them actually process and understand what is happening? Because a lot of the times the children don't even know. They're like blindsided, they just get cut off and that's it. And everyone thinks, because they're children, they can bounce right back. They don't understand the trauma, how it deeply impacts them and it stays with them. Obviously, look at Taylor. She is one that was traumatized from that. And like I said, that's one thing, is that a lot of people don't realize those kids grow up and they're going to have a voice and they're going to question and they're going to end up hating you for what you do. So that is one thing that I tell moms
Right.
all the time. Yes, you carry the child. Yes, you're the nurturer. Yes, I get it. But you are not the only parent. And you cannot keep controlling how the other parent parents. If the other parent has different parenting techniques or styles, as long as it's safe, that is not your place to say that they cannot, because who are you? You're the mom, but you're also the other parent, and they have the right to parent the way that they do, as long as it's safe.
Right.
So, it takes a lot to kind of break that down and instill that in the women, because they're so defensive when it comes to that, because they have it in their mind already that they are the better parent and they should be the only parent making those decisions. And then I say to myself, okay, but you're on social media over here complaining that you never get a break and that the kids are wilding out and pulling your hair. Okay, so why don't you actually try their father, right? Why don't you allow the man to be the parent so he can be that one to lay it down and really teach your kids, what they need to, because it needs to come, majority of the time, it needs to come from a father. Kids will run all over the moms, and I'm speaking from experience. Right. Because why? Because we're more the softer one. The father's more the stern, and that they instill that ability to the kids. Like, I don't play, and this is not, we're gonna, we're not doing it this way. And I'm a firm believer of that. And a lot of moms, right, they know that, but like I said, it is a power struggle. They do not want to hand over the power to you, because then they cannot control you no more. That's what it boils down to. Once they lose that control over you through the kids, how else are they going to manipulate or control you? They can't.
Right. They can't.
So that's what
Yeah. The pawns are gone.
yeah, so that's what it boils down to. It's realistic. And I'm telling you from a mother because that is what my mind frame was once upon a time. And it took me to lose my daughters for me to realize that. Go figure. It took me to lose custody of my twins to open my eyes and say, okay, what did I do wrong here? How did I end up in this situation? And it was my lack of ability to take in consideration him as a father. It was my lack of ability to take accountability for my own actions. And I was so concerned about him, what he was doing. And look at him, instead of what did I do? Or what can I do? Or how can I?
Right.
We're always focus on the other person versus on you. You can only control yourself. You cannot control the other person. So the only time and way that you can do anything is you, because you have control of how you perceive and how you put out things. That's the only thing that you can control. And that's a lot of work we do with the moms so that they can kind of see where their cases are going wrong. And I always tell them, consider looking at the bigger picture, especially when you're going to court for child support. Think about it, because a lot of the time it becomes that battle of like, oh, you want to get me for child support, but then I can't see my kid, right? And it's only fair if you're paying, and you should be involved with your child. You should have that parenting time too, as well. But I also tell men too, speak up, because the woman is also responsible for supporting the child too, just as much as you are. So when those type of things happen, I always tell parents, decide if this is what you really want to do. Do you want to waste resources on court to go and try to get child support when you should really be focusing on the timeshare the parents spend with each other? I'd rather my kids spend time with their father physically than to get a penny out of him, honestly, because that's going to go a lot more longer than me getting monetary contribution for the kids. If he wants to contribute and he's going to do what he has to do it. But I shouldn't use it as a weapon. Like, well, I'm going to take you to child support court now because you're not acting right. It shouldn't be used as a weapon. It should really be used as if you really need it. And if the parent, can really afford it, then that's when you do it. You shouldn't use it as a weapon and try to punish the other parent through that. And that's what a lot of the times you see those cases coming through, is it's used as a punishment form to control the situation, and it's not good. It never ends well.
Oh, yeah.
So that is one thing that I
Yep. You can come get him, but you better bring the money for soccer practice this week.
no, it doesn't work that way. How about, what, you can come
Yeah.
and get him, but is there any possible way, you can work on the soccer money? It's about changing the way you communicate with the other person and how you want to get that response. If you're going to talk like that, of course, the other parent's going to shut down. Like, you don't, tell me if I come and, pay this, I can get them for soccer practice, like, no, it's more of
Right.
having that communication of, hey, did you still have that money for soccer practice? Because, it's got to be paid or whatever, but come get your kids still, it shouldn't be a one or the other at
Right.
all. And like
Right.
I said,
Co-parenting.
yes,
maybe.
a lot of people don't like talking about it because they feel entitled. And when I start to tell the dads, hey, that you can actually go and apply for child support yourself on that other parent. And once I start saying that, the moms go, don't be telling them that. Why? They have the right to go and ask for child support too. And you wouldn't like it if your wages were getting garnished.
Right.
You wouldn't like it if you're being told every time you turn around, you got to pay, otherwise you can't see the kid. So I give them that perspective because I want them to really think about it in a sense that what they're doing is a form of manipulation and control. And if they were just to communicate and say, hey, I need this, or he really needs this, can you help? It goes a long ways versus trying to control and demand that. You know what I mean? So I do educate the fathers on that. And again, I do get a lot of shit because it's like, why are you telling them to get child support? Because they have every right to request it too. Why not?
Because most people only want equal rights up until the point that it is actually equal rights.
Right.
Once it actually becomes equal rights, people gonna start
Yeah,
bitching.
that's the thing is it's breaking down those cultures
Humanity.
that's been created,
Yes.
you know, and that's why we got to continue to do this work because it's going to start breaking down those cycles.
Right. Right. I wanted to ask you because you're in
Yeah.
California. The guys that you work with, when they're uh, assigned anger management classes, drug classes, all the various class hoops you have to jump through to be able to see your kids. Does the state pay for them in California, or do they come out of pocket?
They, I'm going to say yes and no because it depends on your judges that you get, because there's some judges that will just say, go look for the resources. We don't got any resources, right? And then there's some cases where they give a referral to some type of place. I don't know. But normally what I do is that's why we do case management, because when we get cases like that where there is no one paying for those services and they got to go out and look for it themselves, it becomes a little challenging for them because they don't know where to start. And then when they start calling around, there's like a lot of barriers, right? And so I can understand a person gets frustrated. So that's why when we bring them in, we do an intake. We assign them to a case manager, and then we start plugging them into those services that they wouldn't have to pay for because it's a challenge already as it is. So we connect them to therapy. If they're going to do therapy, we have Act for Mental Health, which is upstairs from us. They do anger management, they do therapy, they do the parenting classes, and they do the domestic violence. So it's like a one-stop shop. We just plug them right in, and then we keep in contact with them so that we can,
That's awesome.
yeah, so that we can keep updating their case. So what we do is when they go back to court, we write a letter for them and we let the court know their progress and what they're doing, so that way they know, okay, father did 5 classes on this, he did 5 classes on that, he did 10 classes on this, and he's got this many more left. So we want to be able to create that system and that support for that parent, that father, so that way when they're going to court, we have everything kind of ready for them when they go, like a progress report is what you would probably call it. And that the court
Right.
can see the progress that they're making, that they're at least doing everything that they're being asked to do. And then when they go through our workshops, we give them a certificate of achievement that they've complied and they've done, pretty much everything that we worked on in class. And, like I said, once the court sees that, they're real supportive of our services, at least here in California. And once they know that we're working with the parent, they normally start to back off the parent, the one that's being restricted, the father. They start to back off because they know I'm going to go full force on them and they know I'm going to fight for that parent. So normally when they hear, oh, New Beginnings is involved, they normally go, okay, well, they're going to come prepared to court. They know they're not going to. So that's the beauty of
Right.
it, is that I created those relationships with the court so that they know when I'm involved in a case, the parent is being educated on their rights and what the court is expected to do on their behalf too. And that's something that a lot of the courts don't want anybody to know. But I want my parents to know that, so when they go into court, they're
Right.
well informed. So yeah, so it just depends. A lot of different counties. I hear a lot of parents, different states, counties, they don't pay for those services and they don't have those resources. So a lot of the times they don't comply and they're not able to do and carry out what the services because they can't find them or they can't afford them. I'm not sure. I'm
Right.
not sure.
Right. Affordability is the biggest thing that I hear of.
Yeah.
Is that you have to pay to go to court, then you have to pay to do the anger management classes, the drug classes for guys that are saying they haven't even ever used drugs. It's just the ex old lady said they did, so now they got to do 30
Yeah.
days.
And the thing that we're working on here is the lack of the services. So if the court's ordering this and this is what they want them to do, we're trying to get that initiative where if the court's asking for that, then you're going to have to pay for it. The court's going to have to pay for it. So we're trying to figure out how we can get that aligned, because with dependency court, when you have a CPS case and they order you to do these things, they pay for it. So we're trying to get that aligned with family
Right.
court as well, because the parent, is not asking to do that. So why should they have to pay for that? If the other parent is asking for that and requesting it, then let the other parent pay for that parent's classes or drug testing or whatnot if the court doesn't want to pay for it. So right now we're trying to figure out in which way they can tap into some type of resources for those parents that need to have those things done, how they can the court can actually pay for that, because they can, but it's on a referral basis. So we're still trying to work out like the logistics of it, but we're getting close to having that happen here in Santa Clara County. At least I can't speak for all of California, but at least Santa Clara County, we're trying to see how that initiative is going to work. And we got we got a bunch of officials, state officials, local, county, and assembly officials that are actually signing off on it, that, are supporting it. So hopefully it goes through, because we want to be able to, show that it's effective, and then hopefully other states or counties kind of jump on board with it and do the same thing. That's the goal, but sometimes these things take time.
Right. I think, right. I think you got a really good idea there.
Yeah.
If one parent accuses the other of violence or drug abuse, make it known that they're the ones that are going to be paying for
Right.
it. If you want to make that accusation,
Right.
that'd cut down on, I'd say probably about 90%
Exactly.
of the accusations
Exactly.
within family court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the court would only be relied upon for about 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be set.
Yeah. I will tell you this.
Because it's 90% bullshit.
I
anyway.
have cases where I've helped a parent prepare for trial to get to that point, and the other parent has been court ordered to pay for the domestic violence and the drug testing, because that parent pushed it so hard. And because that father was able to prove in a trial that he shouldn't have to do all these things. And if they want him to, he was okay with doing it, but he just didn't want to be financially responsible for it. Why should he? If this is something she wants him to do because he wants to
Right.
prove a point, okay, so then we'll do it, but you're going to pay for it. And I've had 3 different parents actually have the other parent pay for the drug testing, the therapy, and the 52 weeks domestic violence. And once that happened, the other parent was calling the father,
Nice.
is there any way we can try to work something out and maybe see if we could, do something outside of court? And then they come back and ask me, and I'm like, don't do it. Because one, if you step back and you go and feed right into what she's asking you, you're going to start that cycle all over again. So hold your ground.
Yeah.
And say, I'm sorry, but it's court ordered, so I'm going to follow the court order. And if you want to change it, you need to go to court, and that's it. Because then they start talking about, they're struggling, this or that, or they can't. Well, you wanted me to do it. So now you're going to be responsible for it. So there's ways around that.
Right. Yeah, I held up my end of the deal.
And there's ways to do it. It's just you have to contest it, and you have to be willing to go through trial proceedings and stuff like that, which is timely. So that's that works.
Right. My dog. There was something else I wanted to ask you. When you were talking about those false accusations happening and CPS being notified and involved,
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of conversations with people. I did an interview not too long ago with a man named Jay Rosenthal that just started a consulting firm called CPS Protect. Almost does the same kind of thing you do, more of a not so involved with the clients, just kind of a guidance system to how to navigate CPS. And everybody has their own opinions on CPS. Some people want to burn them to the ground. Right. Other people want reform. What do you think needs to happen within CPS to make it kind of function a little better?
Well, I'll tell you this, is once upon a time I wanted to burn them to the ground too. But what I found was anytime I challenged them, I never won because they are, I call them a gang.
Right.
They're this big old gang, and they're more powerful than just one parent, and I always found out that they always won. So I decided, okay, what can I do to start changing that culture that was already created before me? And the way that I did was I started integrating myself within their department, meaning I started joining all of their,
From outside.
yeah, from the outside, all of their parenting
Yeah.
groups that they had or things that they were having going on, like the board, the directors within them. They would have these meetings where they wanted outside people or parents who already been through the system to come and talk about their experience and share it. And go figure, 25 years later, now they're calling me to consult with me about cases. Now they're calling me to come and train their staff about the work I do with the families. And I have full, I don't want to say control, but if there's something that goes on and I have a parent that has been, let's say they feel like there's some injustice in their case with CPS, they will contact me, and then I contact the director straight. And once they know I'm involved again, they're like, okay, it's Jennifer involved. So now we got to step back and really think about what we're doing here, because she's not going to play with us. And so I created that rapport because I figured if I'm going to keep fighting them, fighting them, fighting them, it's not going to work. So you have to talk their lingo or their language. You have to learn it in order to be able to get in there and push your agenda. So that's when I started to step back and go, okay, I'm going to stop fighting them. I'm going to join them, but in a way where I'm going to integrate my agenda on them. And I'm going to start pushing what I want to see within the department. And I have the last 25 years. And so a lot of the stuff that I worked on now is part of their policy and their protocol. And one of, like I said, the initiative came from my work, which the director was like, hey, we're going to go ahead and collaborate with Family Court, and we're going to launch this and see how it works. And like he says, their rate of removing kids and putting them in foster care has gone down by 70%. So you're only seeing 30% of kids going into foster care now since we started working on these initiatives. So I always tell people, yeah, you want to burn them down to the ground. You hate them. I get it. I once was one of those parents. But the only way to start working around it and through it is you got to have the mind frame of, okay, what I was doing before wasn't working. So let me find a strategic plan that will work and get them to join me. So now I have them calling me, wanting to consult with me about a case and how we can go, work through it. How can we navigate it? And when they get parents now, they send them to me to do the workshops and work with them before they start moving forward on any type of removal of the kids. So you see what I mean? I created that system though. So if you want that change, you got to get in there and start making that change, because it's not going to happen by protesting them and combating them. It's just not going to work. I tried it for so many years.
That makes it
It
worse.
did not work.
It makes it worse.
They saw me as a disgruntled parent. They saw me as this person that just couldn't get over, whatever it was that I was going through. And instead, one moment I said, okay, I got to change it because it's not working. And once that light bulb went on and I just started strategically planning it out, now, like I said, I'm getting ready to go into contract with them so that when they actually get a case, before they start assuming all these things and removing kids, I have an opportunity to work with mom and dad and getting them on the right page or right path so that they don't lose their kid. So the percentage rate of my clients, like I said, that I work with, whether it's CPS or family court, 95%. They're having success rates. Either they're having custody of their kids, the barriers of getting their kids removed has been removed. They have their kids back home. They have their custody. All those conflicts that were once there are now either to a minimal or they're gone. And so they've saw the work I've done in the last 3 years, and they're just like, okay, it really does work. So now I have all these different agencies reaching out to me, want to partner because they see how effective the work that goes into it. And I believe the key component is that I've actually had lived out experiences. I'm not trying to teach from a book. I'm teaching these families and
Yes.
these professionals from the experiences that I actually went through, that I had to live through, that my kids had to experience. That is the best way you can educate and teach somebody, because a book, anybody can learn from a book. It's about having compassion
Right.
for people and supporting them right where they're at. That's it. It's that simple. So,
Right.
um, I can't speak on,
I've been preaching that for 20
yeah,
years.
I can't speak on the gentleman's consulting, but I mean, what I can say is there's a way to navigate it. There's dangers and there's ways to stay away from them. You just got to learn the language and the lingo when you're dealing with those cases, because there's a lot of danger zones and a lot of parents don't know. They step right in it like a trap and then that's it. So when they come through our workshops, we teach them all of that. So they're
Right.
well aware of a situation that could come about. They know how to handle it. And we always encourage the
Right.
parents, when CPS is involved or you get it served with papers for family court, contact us right away so we can start working on your case immediately. Don't wait until you've done the damage and then you come to us as a last resort so we can undo. I mean, because we can do it, but it takes us time to undo all the
Right.
damage that was already done. And it just takes more time. So I encourage
Right.
parents, I don't care if you're in Florida, I don't
Right.
care if you're across the country, the state. If there's something that you need that we can help you with, contact us right away so we can start working with you. That's the message I stress all the time. I don't care where you're at. If you're in a different I don't know, jurisdiction, if it's something that we can try
Fantastic.
to do, we'll
Right.
look up your law, we'll look up your state and county local laws and figure out what we can do for your case. But it just depends on reaching out for the help before you sink yourself. So that's the message I stress a lot.
Right. That's a great message, and it's great what you're doing. I think it's
Thank
fantastic.
you. I appreciate that.
Um, if there's anything we can do to help promote you, let us know. And
Absolutely.
I think I already talked to you about the online support group.
Yeah. If
If
you want to do,
if you're willing to do something like that,
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're
yeah.
willing to do, I know you wanted to do something with my group of guys, kind of like maybe do like, I don't know, some questions or whatever you want to do. They're open for it. I already talked to them and they're like, yeah, let's do it, and we can set up something when
Hell
have
yeah.
them. And they're, trust me, from the beginning when I started with them to now, I've watched them bloom and I'm like, these are my group of men. You guys I'm going to always protect them. They've come a long way and they have taken everything I've taught them and they've ran with it, and they're doing excellent. So I'm super proud of
Right.
them in how far they've come, and just not giving up on their kids, because that's what I stress to them. Don't give up on your kids because it gets difficult. Just stay the course, and stay true to yourself, and it's going to come to light. And so I'm very proud
Right.
of the men that I work with, because they've come a long way and they're healing. They're healing from the trauma and the alienation and all of this stuff, and they're doing the best that they can do, and I'm proud of that. So, whatever you want to get
That's
together,
awesome. I love to hear things like
yeah,
that.
whenever you want to get together and do something like that, just throw out some dates for me and let me know, and then we'll just take it from there. And let's just stay in touch, just stay in contact.
Well, how about you send me some dates, because I can make myself available for any date you are available.
Okay, 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 that works.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I can make
so
myself
normally we
available.
do workshops for the dads on Friday at 6 p.m. But I think that might be a little too late your time,
Okay.
right? How many hours are you ahead?
I'll make myself available at 9.
9?
Yeah, for something like that, I'll stay up. I'll hang out.
Okay, so yeah, we start at 6. So what I can do is I can get that this week coming up. Next Friday, we're graduating them for the classes they've already went to. So the following Friday, the
Uh-huh.
next, I'll throw you out a couple of dates on a Friday, and you tell me which one works for you, and then we can just set it up.
Okay.
That work for you? Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that works for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. And I'll see what I can do about getting you and Taylor in
Oh,
contact with each other, because she
absolutely.
would love this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to meet her and you know, see what we can do
She's
for sure.
awesome. All
Thank
right.
you for.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This has been enlightening and fantastic.
I appreciate you having me. Like I said, at least I have a platform here because I right now I'm like the most hated woman right now in my county when it comes to the moms. So I'm happy to be able to speak freely and at least have somebody agree with me besides the men I work with. So
Oh yeah, I got a shit ton of people that'll agree with you.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna blow you up.
Well, that's the whole point. Is this? Is, you know, I want these men to stand up, man, and take their stand, and that's all it's about. You know, it's not about being combative and
Right.
fighting. It's about doing what's right. Simple. Appreciate
Right.
you guys having me on, and I look.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, definitely. You have a good one.
Absolutely. We will keep in touch.
Sounds good. You guys have a good
You
day.
as well.
It's not the liquor I'm addicted to, it's feeling brave. The feeling of not feeling the pain. I've been on and off the bottle, I put oxys out my nostrils. Believe me, you do anything to breathe before you suffocate. I couldn't stop it, staying clean was not an option. I was trying to be myself, but being me was such a problem. I just wanted to be Thomas, but Thomas was at the bottom of a hole he dug and getting comfortable inside a coffin. He locked it and swallowed the key, caught up, forgot all his dreams. Robbed at a common, became embalmed in a toxic routine. Beer was the escape, but I got stuck escaping. Whiskey was the blanket in the coldest basement. Way before the fame, I was wasted, freezing, doing anything I could to keep the flame lit. To anyone going through the same shit, heaven's got enough angels, you need to stay here. And I can't make you stay, but sometimes going ain't a choice. And every choice you make is one that you didn't avoid. Crash the whip and ditch the car, burn a bridge, follow the stars. You'll find monsters in the dark, but nothing's worth it till it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to see things clear through your tears, but anywhere is way better than here. Fight your fear. It's not the liquor I'm addicted to, it's feeling tough. When you get bullied half your life, you feel weak, like you just ain't enough. Then you have a couple drinks and you catch a buzz and finally have the courage to defend yourself and throw a punch. And that adrenaline goes straight into your brain and blood. Addicted to the confidence, it's practically the greatest drug. Chasing dragons every night in all the latest clubs. What used to be your favorite thing somehow became a dangerous crutch. It was what it was. And that's the thing, it can happen to like any of us. I had great parents, tight friends, strong morals, nice threads, good school, good looking, good grades, time spent. Being normal only lasted for a while. One bad choice sparked a downward spiral. I've spent half my life trying to climb out of that hole. Heaven's got angels, we need you at home. And I can't make you stay, but sometimes going ain't a choice. And every choice you make is one that you didn't avoid. Crash the whip and ditch the car, burn a bridge, follow the stars. You'll find monsters in the dark, but nothing's worth it till it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to see things clear through your tears, but anywhere is way better than here. Fight your fear. It ain't the liquor we're addicted to, it's everything else. The happiness we had, but we forget how it felt. We've been drinking with the devil cause we're going through hell. Pray to God for a little bit of help. Man, I've been there, I did those things, I drank those drinks, I took those pills, I puked in sinks. And the truth ain't pretty, listen up, this is a tough one. You get saved by your angels or become one. Crash the whip and ditch the car, burn a bridge, follow the stars. You'll find monsters in the dark, but nothing's worth it till it's hard. Sometimes